deserves a great career, and welcome to another episode of the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketing Podcast. Peter?
And I'm Peter Zollman of the AIM Group. We are business intelligence providers for job boards, recruitment marketplaces worldwide. And we've got our RecBuzz conference coming up in just a few days in Berlin. We've got with us today Serge Boudreau. He's VP of Business Development and Head of Sales for CareerBeacon, co-host of the Recruitment Flex podcast. So a competing podcaster. Serge. Serge is a great word, great name for good times, but in tough times, which seem to be coming, layoffs and job cutbacks and so forth. What on earth is a job board recruitment marketplace to do to make it through?
Well, it's definitely a tough time. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's an absolute pleasure. But to your question, as we're seeing with the layoffs at Indeed, with Talent.com laying off 25% of its workforce last week, we're seeing a lot of turmoil in the industry. And as a regional job board, hoping to be a lot more than a regional job board, we've really tried to be lean as possible. I think that is one of the keys to our success. The leaner that we can be, the faster we can move and take advantage of these opportunities that we're seeing in the market right now. The other thing that I think everyone needs to focus on, and we're seeing this with a lot of job boards, if you're not driving true value right now, there's other options. We're seeing a lot of what I call the job board, arbitrage is causing definitely challenges in the industry. So adding value right from the start and making sure that your clients are actually filling roles and filling the roles that they're trying to fill for a long time. If you deliver that value, you will have a sustainable job board, even in a downturn.
So does that mean that CareerBeacon, the job board that you're now with, and by the way, for the listeners who don't know you, co-host the Recruitment Flex podcast, one of the podcasts that I listen to every week. You used to be at Indeed. We might get into that in a second. You used to be at Workopolis before that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you have a long history of being at Canada's largest job boards. And I did pick up on the CareerBeacon, we want to grow kind of thing. So question about CareerBeacon. For the listeners who don't know, tell us what CareerBeacon is. And also, we wanted to have you on the show to talk about sort of how CareerBeacon has managed to survive and thrive in the country that Indeed is moving into pretty aggressively.
Yeah, so CareerBeacon has been around for 20 years, was actually owned by Canada's second richest family, the Irvings. Last year, alongside whose ATS SaaS company acquired CareerBeacon. And funny enough, I had Eve on the show, same last name as I did, to announce the acquisition. We started talking and I joined the company. So under new ownership, we've been around for around a year and a half. Obviously, a lot of challenges coming into this market because January last year in the market now is completely different. Everyone was trying to hire. Everyone had difficulties. Job boards were definitely seeing really good numbers across the board. And as went throughout the year, we definitely saw a downturn or a little bit of a slowdown. But I don't think we're affected as deeply as the other players in the market itself. Like you said, we are regional. So I like to say we own Atlantic Canada, which is beautiful province on the east side of Canada. And obviously we have plans to keep driving values for our clients in Atlantic Canada, really solidifying because there was no investment on advertising, on technology. And we really spent the last year just making sure that we've got our things in order. And we actually had an extremely successful year. We also saw our traffic triple, which was quite substantial. We started at a pretty substantial piece. But to answer your question, in the market, working for Indeed in Canada, I know how dominant they are. And I would say they own 80 to 85% of the market share. The only place they don't dominate is Atlantic Canada. And I think the key here is that personalization, that value, and I guess that down home, we're going to help you be successful in hiring your roles and giving you all basically the tools, not only thought leadership, but also the best practice so they can be successful.
So is that sounds like that's more on the employer side, right?
Yeah.
On the clients. The candidates don't care about advice you're giving to employers about how to be successful. The candidates just want to get a job. But if your traffic is tripled, then something's changed. Something's a lot better. You're executing a lot better. So when other sites globally are really struggling to fight Indeed and other aggregators off, you're tripling your traffic. Um, what's happening?
How did that happen? Well, we decided to drive a lot more value to the job seeker. And one of the things that we're seeing, and as I said, like the employer, let's make sure we're giving them the tools, but the job seeker need the tools as well. A couple of things that we launched that were extremely successful for us was an income tax calculator. So in Canada, we have a different tax bracket anywhere, any province that you're in, also
Hmm.
cost of living. So we did a cost of living calculator, and that's driven ton of traffic to our site. That really our focus is converting that traffic into actually applying for jobs. And what's really cool for us is, yeah, we're dominant in Atlantic Canada, but a lot of this traffic is starting to permeate in areas that we've never been strong, Ontario and
Oh.
going Western Canada. And we actually have really decent traffic, but in a marketplace where Indeed dominates, especially in Ontario. If you look at the first like Google search page, it's basically Indeed, Glassdoor, Workopolis, Simply Hired. It's really hard to get on that page and drive that traffic. So trying to be, I guess, innovative in some ways, but also trying to give that value for job seekers that, hey, if I go here, I'm going to get the tools I need to be successful. Do I want to move to another part of the country? Is there more jobs? And we're trying to help the job seekers with that. The other thing is the jobs are all legit, which we don't see with a lot of
Ah.
aggregators and other job boards. We're very careful in the quality of our content and if the jobs are real jobs that people can actually get hired. And we audit that frequently.
How does a regional job board or a niche job board, and we're using niche because you're in Canada, how does a regional job board or a niche job board compete with the big boys? And we'll have one last question, which is what's Google Jobs going to do to Indeed? But let's
Ah.
how does a niche job board or and you're both, you're a regional and you're a niche job board. How do you compete with the big boys? And what's the best thing to do?
Well, someone, and I don't know who it was, but someone said, how do you compete with Indeed? And the answer was, you start with $1 billion. Maybe less now, but obviously we don't have $1 billion. So to that point is, how do we get to the place that the job seeker, and not the job seekers, the clients feel that they are getting the attention they need, they're getting the results they need. At the end of the day, Stephen, you mentioned it, if they're
Yeah.
not getting candidates and they're not getting good quality candidates, not volume
Uh-huh.
of candidates, and we've seen the challenge with Indeed over the years as far as they just drive volume and hope that quantity drives quality. Our focus is really, hey, if you're getting 4 applicants and those 4 applicants are really high quality, um, I think you'll be really happy with us. And there's also a local side to it. Local people helping local clients and local job seekers is a big advantage. There is no local reps in Atlantic Canada for Indeed or ZipRecruiter or Talent.com. So that's a
Hmm.
big competitive advantage. They know these people.
So, and Talent is headquartered in Montreal,
It
which
is.
for the listeners outside of Canada, it's not just down the road from Atlantic Canada, but it's an easy day's drive.
Yes.
And so I'm surprised they don't have any local reps. Um,
No, they don't have any local reps. I don't think they have more than a couple of reps in all of Canada. Canada is, even though they're headquartered in Canada, it's not a dominant marketplace for them from what I know and what I see from the numbers.
Interesting.
Okay, 10-second question because it's getting to be time to wrap up. Google Jobs, sponsored job listings, just in tiny beta test. Long-term impact on Indeed as you see it. And then we'll say thanks.
Very interesting. So I was at Indeed when Google for Jobs initially launched, and I'll be honest, and I'm not speaking as part of Indeed. I was scared shitless of Google for Jobs
Mhm.
because what is it, like 75% of job search start from Google,
At
but
least.
obviously, yeah, at least 75%.
Yeah.
But their UX, UI, and the aggregator spam was just overwhelming. And a couple of years ago, when they made some changes. I think it was October 2021, hopefully to get rid of a lot of those, what I call aggregator spam. It really didn't make a difference. It's still a horrible UX and UI interface. So they haven't made really a dent. They've made a dent for some local job boards and driving traffic, but nowhere to the point that they're competing with Indeed. I think this is the time they actually take it serious. If I was Indeed in a combination of a downturn in the economy, with them being down, 33% in sponsored jobs, with some would say a poor launch of cost per applicant, and also what I talked about as far as just volume of candidates, they're really they're easy to poach right now. They're easy to go after. So I think Google for Jobs, if they can do this right, really fix their UX UI, give the user experience, the users a better experience, I think they will compete with Indeed. And my prediction is 5 years from now, Google for Jobs or Google Ads will be the number one player in our whole space.
Well, we're going to write that down. Well, Peter,
We
has
are
just
going
been
to
great.
write that down. It's
Yes.
it's going into an article in our employment annual that's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Love it.
Serge, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your insight. Have next time you're home in Moncton, have a lobster, some scallops for me. Peter, I will see you on April 20th and 21st in Berlin for the RecBuzz conference that the AIM Group is organizing. Serge, I don't think you're going to be there this time, but maybe the next conference after that.
I promise next year.
Sounds
we
good.
can
We'll hold you to it.
We can write that one down also. Just send him an invoice, Peter. Gentlemen, cheers.
Thanks.